much in my head. I could be more faithful, but I feel let that happen. So I run around instead. I wanna be good to myself, love hard to breathe more, drink less. I wanna be seen at my best, sleep more, be nice a lot less. All I need is 21 days and I'm fine. January 1, I'ma still need more time. Every single year, yeah, it never fails, I try. But maybe I don't ever wanna put down this life. I could be your best friend, but I can't pick up my phone. Let it ring cause no one's home. I'm always judging and degrading. I should stop all that, I'm sure, but I'm just too insecure. I wanna be good to myself, love hard to breathe more, drink less. I wanna be seen at my best, sleep more, be nice a lot less. All I need is 21 days and I'm fine. January 1, I'ma still need more time. Every single year, yeah, it never fails, I try. But maybe I don't ever wanna put down this life. All I need is 21 days and I'm fine. January 1, I'ma still need more time. Every single year, yeah, it never fails, I try. But maybe I don't ever wanna put down this life.
Start thinking, all the details start to sink in. But I don't care about the right now. Spend the summer in this beach house. Cause I will try to play my part. My lies memorized in my heart. I keep losing to a moment where I'm with you, I just can't focus. I love to hear your crazy theories about conspiracies on TV. I know the truth and it's so simple. Blame it all on stupid impulse, and I keep living out of my head. Just forgive me for my silence. Cause I will try to play my part. My lies memorized in my heart. Cause I will try to play my part. My lies memorized in my heart. Cause I will try to play my part. My lies memorized in my heart.
Yo! Hello there, everyone. Hello there, Twitters and the Twitches and all of that schmozzle. Much later than usual, isn't it? There we go. Yeah, much later than usual. Hello. It's a reasonable time in the evening in America, and 1:30 in the morning here. I am hoping to link up with Dylan Burns, who's a really, really interesting guy. Who was actually is a kind of citizen journalist type chap, as well as being involved in like politics on an actual like campaign basis and stuff. And was actually at the events in Washington DC on the 6th of January, which like not doing the illegal shit, just as like I say, as a kind of citizen journalist. But they're not being very responsive right this very second. So I don't know what's going on there. But, well, we were going to take a look possibly at this, the 1776 report, but I kind of feel like I can't be bothered, right now, to be honest. So I might just talk to him, assuming we can get in touch at some point. I might just talk about, like, general stuff with him, because he's just got, like, a really interesting story and shit. He's like a young kid, but he's got a lot of experience, which sounds mad, but is true. They were talking a second ago to someone else on Twitch, so I'll check with them in just a second. Apologies that this is a bit of a scuffed start to the stream. I mean, it wouldn't be a Kevin Logan stream without it, would it? Yeah, the 1776 project thing is a joke. If I don't go through that with you now, I probably won't go with you through it tomorrow with Christy, because that seems like more of a let's focus on the inauguration type thing. So maybe Thursday I'll go through it with you. Because as a person who A, doesn't like right-wing propaganda, and B, does like history, that document is a fucking massive pile of shit. Like, legitimately a work of propaganda rather than of anything worthwhile. Like, genuinely ridiculous stuff. Yeah. So, but I don't know what Dylan's really doing now. Okay. Well, I'll start going through the thing then, and hopefully Dylan will get in touch. Maybe not though. I mean, look, the beauty of this technology of being able to broadcast around the world is often taken for granted, even by people like myself. Even though I'm in awe of the actual technology, it's an amazing thing, where you can just, at the click of a few buttons, link up with someone 5,000, 10,000 miles away. Almost seamlessly. So when it occasionally does go wrong, it's, you know, A shouldn't be that surprising, and B, probably should happen more often, but they've built the systems so well that they don't. So it's a beautiful thing in its own way, but well. Yeah. So I mean, basically, hopefully, they get in contact at some point in the not too distant future. But we'll start. For what it's worth, I'll start giving you my rundown of this 1776 report document thing. Now, this was, as it says, the President's. I'm going to start actually on the screen properly. It is the President's Advisory 1776 Commission, January 2021. Now, the 1776 Commission was set up by Trump as the ultimate kind of culture war virtue signal. It's aimed entirely at pushing the kind of more PragerU version of American history, where they suck off the founding fathers and basically say, America, rah, 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 America's the best thing since ever. And that's that, you know? And that's essentially what they've done here, right? Now, it was always going to be a relatively shit and short-lived thing, because, like I say, it's just a culture war virtue signal. It was a way of putting up a thing against the 1619 Project, if you remember that, which was like a group of historians and journalists writing stuff about, like, slavery in America wasn't cool. And so this was the right wing kind of throwing some shit at the wall type situation. And they hadn't actually done anything up until they released this on MLK Day. Very pointedly, it seems, considering the racial overtones and undertones of the piece, where they downplay racism. They describe the KKK as a vigilante group. Yeah, it's fucking atrocious. I mean, it's almost unbelievably on brand for Trump. It's like a rejection of reality. That's fundamental to everything Trump does. It was released on MLK Day, like I said, which just goes to reaffirm the Trump administration's complete and utter dedication to racism. That's all they've ever really cared about, it seems. That and enriching Trump and his family, I suppose. But really, in terms of like public policy or whatever, it's yeah, that's what they do. Okay, Dylan. Yep, okay. Oop. Hopefully, Dylan will be in touch in just a second. So maybe we'll do the 1776 project at some other point.
Hello.
Hello there, Dylan.
How you doing, good sir?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Are you still followed by Jeremy Corbyn?
I'm not. That's whoa. How do you know I was followed by Jeremy Corbyn? That's an odd little tidbit.
I work in the shadows, man.
Clearly you do.
I work
yes.
in the shadows.
No, that was on my old account. Now I'm on the account of my good friend Kurt Logan. My name's Kevin Logan, so that's a different person, clearly. Because that one got banned for telling Nazis to do things that are TOS, so I can't repeat them here.
I got you. It's because I was the one who made sure Corbyn didn't follow you again for PR reasons.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah. No, I was clearly the reason that the Corbynism failed, unfortunately.
Yeah, why'd you do that? Why'd you fail Corbynism like that?
I'm a CIA stooge. You must have heard
you're
this.
You're working with Jacob Rees-Mogg?
Yeah, me and Jacob, me and the Jakester, we often go out for tea and plot the downfall of the left.
Jakey boy, hey, Jakey boy. That's what we call him. That's what we call him. That's what he loves to be called.
Yeah, indeed.
He dominates those kegs. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I can't believe he's real. It's so strange. Well, as an American, just as an aside, I did not think that Jacob Rees-Mogg was going to be a topic of discussion. But as an American, how do you see like that? Because it seems to me like
he's like the worst possible stereotype you could possibly put on the British people.
Yeah,
He seems like the type of person who's like, so when are we getting back those colonies? Like, I feel like that's the type of thing he'd bring up in a discussion with the Queen. Like that's how I view him from an American perspective.
Well, that's basically what he is. Yeah, like he's the cartoon representation of like an Englishman, but yet he exists. Actually, look, I was on the hippy dippy roundtable
the recruitment table,
recruitment thing the other day, yeah, and there was a guy in there. What's his name? Critical thinking veteran. And he was like the most American dude ever. He's a trucker. He was wearing a gun. He had a crucifix and an American flag behind him, and like a Gadsden flag thing. And I made the analogy.
He was actually gonna come with me to DC, but he canceled last second.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, that'd be interesting because you're going there tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah, every single person I was gonna go with canceled. So I'm kind of, you know what? At the end, I've gone to every single one, and every time I go in my Biden Harris merch. So
yeah,
seems like a
yeah you did.
What was that?
You went to the events on the 6th, didn't you?
I went to the Million MAGA March in my Biden Harris merch when I got pepper sprayed and had to help a girl that got stabbed by the Proud Boys. I went to the event on the 6th in my Biden Harris merch when I was threatened with execution, called the F slur, and they all attacked the media right in front of me and all that stuff.
That's mad. Do you like? I mean, that's enormously brave. But do you have some sort of death wish?
I don't want to die. I like living.
Right.
But it's simply the fact that this the Metro DC area is my community.
Yeah.
DC was where my mother was a homeless resident. It is where she lived and died. This shit's in my blood. I've lived in Prince George's County. We are in the Metro DC area. We're in the DMV. DC is where my grandfather went to work every day. It's where he took me to take your child to work day. It's where I go to eat at food trucks and hang out with friends. It's where like half of my friends live. It's where 90% of my friends work. It's where I hope to work someday. And for all intents and purposes, it's my community. And when a bunch of outside agitators, as the right would call them, come into my community, burn the property of black churches, destroy local BLM monuments put up by a community in mourning, assault locals, and these are people who are not from here, it is up to community members to stand up for the community they love and say, we voted 93% in Biden. DC residents voted 93% for Biden. They are not the people who are on the streets. Maryland voted heavily for Biden. They are not the people on the streets. These are people outside the community coming to wreck our community, destroy and mess stuff up. And so it is our responsibility to show the world and show these people in our community that they're not welcome here when they're going to act like a bunch of barbarians.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I appreciate the sentiment and the principle, but the point is, I was more concerned for your safety because I mean, the police weren't exactly like in control of that situation, and you probably were getting some pretty hostile reactions, I imagine.
I was called a traitor and threatened with execution, and called the F slur, for my long hair, of course, because they're jealous that it's so pretty. And yeah, I mean, there were people pointing me out. There was people who recognized me because not only do I like do the online stuff, I work in politics. So yeah, I mean, I got a lot of hostile reactions, called communist, laughed at, all this other stuff. But you know, I mean, you can't be about politics just like in boardrooms. Politics is something that's physical. Politics is something that's also on the street. And so I feel like it was my responsibility to be there, even if it put myself in harm's way. Not to mention the fact that at the end of the day, I'm a white guy, and when it comes to putting yourselves in harm's way, I think there's less likelihood that I'm going to be shot than somebody who looks a little differently than me.
Yes, yeah, indeed. So you mentioned it there. You were actually genuinely involved in politics. I was genuinely looking back. For such a young man, you've been involved in quite a number of political campaigns, not just online kind of shithousery, but genuine campaigns.
Like 10 now, I think, maybe 10.
Yeah, that's mad. So I mean, are you planning to actually get into politics yourself, like as an elected representative?
I do eventually want to run for office. I can't talk about some projects I have in the works now, but I do plan on running for office. Politics is what I want to do with my life. I want to get involved. I want to organize it. I want to run for office. I've managed mayoral campaigns. I was a foreign policy advisor to 2 congressional campaigns. I've canvassed in Georgia. I've canvassed South Carolina. I'm a political consultant for a political PAC. I've done organizing stuff for unions, and I've worked on a presidential campaign as a state director. I'm currently on my local city environmental board. I worked in the Maryland General Assembly. I've done everything that really I should do before running for office. It really is just running for office at this point is the next thing I need to do. But then again, I was just given a role as a finance director for a 2022 campaign. So I don't know. I just keep putting more stuff on my plate instead of running.
Oh, cool. Who's that for? Or are you allowed to say at this point?
I'm not allowed to say.
Oh, okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's a couple of years off, I suppose. Yes. And you're more of a foreign policy person, aren't you?
Yep. I studied international relations at the University of Maryland when I was still in high school. I worked on I was state director for the Mike Gravel campaign. So, I did a lot of foreign policy stuff there because it's foreign policy centered campaign. And I'm currently trying to get my major in international relations. And I worked as a foreign policy advisor to Michaela Wilkes and State Senator Jill Carter when they both ran for Congress.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, for a person of your age to have got the amount of experience you have, like, hey, everyone, remember the name, because I think you've got a decent chance of being president one day. If Trump can do it, anyone can fucking do it.
Hey, I mean, Joe Biden can do it. I think.
Yeah.
When I think about it, obviously, President of the United States isn't something I really think about. It's more like city council or state representative or maybe one day Congress. That's the way I think about it, because these things are just like president is like this thing that only like one person in the entire world can be, and it's just a far off thing. But I do plan to eventually run for office. And yeah, I mean, I'm 19 years of age, so obviously it's a little far off any of these roles, but yeah, I'm excited to get involved.
Yeah. So in terms of foreign policy, I suppose moving on to tomorrow and all the rest of it. What do you think are Biden's main foreign policy challenges?
First, I'm going to say the things he's going to do right off the bat that I'm already really excited about because he's doing everything I wanted him to do right off the bat.
Yeah.
The first thing he's going to be doing is rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, which is a very basic thing to do, but shows a necessary shift for us to build a climate change policy that's necessary to like build upon actual working towards a green new future, right? And Paris Climate Accords and being part of it is a very basic step we need to take, but one the Republicans were incapable of doing. The next thing he's doing, which is a big thing for me, is Donald Trump, while going out, deemed the Houthi rebels in Yemen a terror group, which I don't disagree with morally, but I disagree with logistically because they control huge amounts of territory within Yemen, including the capital, and 90% of Yemen's imports are food, and they import medicine, and 60% of their population, 16 million people, are acutely food insecure. In about 2 months, that's going to be the case. And so aid organizations have to work, just characteristically have to work with the Houthi rebels in order to get the aid distributed to these people who are food insecure, these people who can't get medicine. And now these banks don't want to work with the NGOs that are working with the Houthi rebels because they could be placed on unilateral sanctions. The WHO is moving staff out of there because of the terrorist designation, and it's going to be much more difficult to stop the 110,000 people who have already died, that number from increasing. And so Tony Blinken, re-examining that designation on the first day in office is huge for me, and I want them to repeal that designation and then allow the legislation that was bipartisan in the House and Senate to get through that would stop our support for the Saudi war in Yemen. That is something that I think is achievable, and it's something I think that's achievable in his first year.
Yeah, definitely, and that would be huge because the issue in Yemen has been going on for years now, and it's been so massively underreported.
Yeah,
and we continue to, so both America and Britain have continued to sell weapons to the Saudis.
Yeah, not only that, but refueling and other logistical support that we have provided them. And it's not to say, and of course, the conflict is a lot broader than people think. Iran obviously is supporting the Houthi rebels, and that should be taken into account. We shouldn't just abandon Yemen to the Houthi rebels to take it over. But I think at the end of the day, the only solution that's going to come to this conflict after 6 years of brutal conflict, when we've been unable to retake the port, and the Saudi Arabian government has shown themselves to be completely inefficient, and there's no way you're going to be able to get the amount of support needed for us to get involved directly, is to find a settlement, to agree, to actually come down and negotiate. And you could say, you want to negotiate with the Iranians, want to negotiate with the bad people? Yes. During the Cold War, we negotiated with the Soviets. During every conflict, we've negotiated with our geopolitical enemies, and it's one of the things that have avoided miscommunications that spiral out into conflict. A great example of that would be when the Iranians, due to the hectic situation after the Soleimani killing, shot down one of their own planes within their territory due to how hectic the conflict was and miscommunication. And obviously, when you're dealing with nuclear armed powers or possible nuclear armed powers, the stakes get that much higher. And when you're talking about a conflict where over 100,000 people have already died, and you have 60% of the population is going to be acutely food insecure, not just food insecure, acutely food insecure, and not getting medicine due to this terrorist designation during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Then they either, at the very least, licenses need to be signed rapidly, and this is what I want, the terrorist designation should be overturned immediately.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Like you say, every single time you try and ignore the power dynamics because you don't want to talk to X group, that you're making a rod for your own back. It can't work. I think the way in which the American government refused and American forces refused to talk to the Taliban for so long, even though they were clearly in control of significant parts of Afghanistan and northern Pakistan, just ignored reality, and therefore any peace solution couldn't possibly work.
The problem is, right, that there were so many things that we could have done to make our position negotiating much better, or to have, I think, even there was opportunities to straight out win the conflict, but we butchered it so bad. We spent the money in such inefficient ways. We created a kleptocracy in so many ways with how we wasted money in Afghanistan, that we've butchered many opportunities we had. And I agree with a lot of Barbara Lee's original criticisms. Nowadays, though, when we look at Trump's kind of route out of Afghanistan, all he would do with his withdrawal would make the situation like 5 times worse, because we haven't agreed on the basic tenets that the Afghan people want. One example would be women's rights. Polling indicates that the vast majority of Afghans support women having, human rights, right? Having basic rights to education, stuff like that. The Taliban, not very liked by the general Afghani population. Neither are our forces, but the Taliban's even worse. They are not very, positive towards women's rights. They don't have a good history with women's rights. Obviously, certain things need to be agreed upon before any large-scale withdrawal can be completed. And Trump has not really been able to secure any of that. And we got to make sure that before we do these large-scale withdrawals and we eventually leave the country, that we give the Afghani people the best possible shot at stability. And, I could hear there's a lot of arguments that people will respond to this. And it'll be like, well, Dylan, we got in there, we caused all this ruckus, and then we're leaving. We need to get out of there because it's going to happen on forever. If you make a mess, or you contribute to a situation, or you get involved in a situation, I believe it's our moral responsibility to make sure that we leave the situation in the best possible state possible, that we physically can before leaving.
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's impossible to make it better than it was before, or anything like that. I would say having the democracy is probably better than having a Taliban theocracy. But I think it's our responsibility to leave the government of Afghanistan with the best possible chance at success. And I think we need to secure that best possible chance before we do a fast and speedy withdrawal. And people will be like, well, Dylan, this just sounds like you're going to justify involvement forever. But one great example I can give of what happens when we do these fast pullouts would be Syria.
Yeah.
When Trump pulled out of northeastern Syria, politicians got dragged out of cars and shot. Hospitals were bombed. War crimes were committed on a mass scale. There's huge accusations about women being kidnapped and sold, and the civilian death toll was destructive. And the ways these Turkish-backed militias have engaged in northeastern Syria have been nothing short of barbaric, and to install terror in the lives of the northeastern Syrian people. And so that was caused by a move Trump did to pull out of northeastern Syria that was either a grab at votes or appealing Erdogan, probably both. But it meant untold suffering for the people of northeastern Syria, a resurgence of ISIS activity in the region because troops that were doing anti-ISIS operations were moved, and those decreased by 75%. And it also meant a degradation of our international standing on how our allies perceive our trustworthiness. Not to mention all the humanitarian catastrophes and allowing Erdogan, this tin pot authoritarian, more wiggle room in the region. And not to mention the expansion of the Syrian civil war. But apparently, that was the pro-peace position, even though it expanded the war, caused more people to die, and expanded the suffering, and that was the pro-peace position. I think that's a simplistic view of foreign policy, and I think that's how we should look at Afghanistan, that if we withdraw, we need to make sure we give it the best shot possible before leaving. Will we ever be able to 100% guarantee it? No. But we have a responsibility to give them the best shot.
Yeah, indeed. I think you're absolutely right in your analysis there, yeah. Just hope... trying to make a war that's already happened not happen, if that makes sense, doesn't work going forward. In terms of public policy, that's nonsense. Going into many of these countries is clearly a mistake, but once you're there, you have to actually do something reasonable. And I don't think that the policy of Trump for self-interest, or like you say, to placate Erdogan, who's a authoritarian piece of trash himself, does anyone any good, really, in the long run or the short run. So having mentioned that Trump's failures there, what would you say were his worst failures, or were there any successes at all in his foreign policy?
I would say northeastern Syria was probably the biggest failure, and the thing that makes it impossible for me to ever have any inkling of respect for the man. would be my biggest personal failure. There's things he's done that are probably worse, but it's just so emotionally connected to me. It's just utterly revolting. It's the type of thing that I didn't even think he was capable of doing, and it was disgusting the amount of suffering he caused because of that move. I would say him vetoing legislation to end our support for the Saudi war in Yemen, his unilateral pro Erdogan not pro Netanyahu stance, him allowing Erdogan security guards to beat up Americans and just no retaliation whatsoever, the cover up of Jamal Khashoggi's murder and no retaliation for that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I would say the throwing out of the JCPOA or the Iran deal, which took so much massive effort to even get us into, the throwing out of it is absolutely disgusting because now it jeopardizes us re-entering this agreement, and I think would lead to a world that's closer towards a nuclear Iran, therefore a more nuclearized world than before, pulling us out of nuclear treaties like the INF with Russia, which again puts us in a scarier nuclear state. I would say that him giving thumbs up to Chinese concentration camps full of Uyghur Muslims behind closed doors, as revealed in John Bolton's book, which I actually recommend, but try to find a way not to exactly pay for it. I'm not saying you should steal it. Just saying try to not give John Bolton your money.
Public library. Yeah.
Yeah, public library, exactly. His one thing I'll say he did good was he supported Taiwan, and I support Taiwan. Oh, here's another thing he did bad. He reversed our opening of relations with Cuba, which I think was the best strategy to move forward since the old strategy of just cutting them off did not work. His proposed invasion of Venezuela is ridiculous and should alone discredit him.
Yeah.
Appointing John Bolton to his administration, Rex Tillerson to his administration, Mike Pompeo to his administration, that one goblin who was involved in the Iran-Contra scandal to his administration. Him calling El-Sisi his favorite dictator, him messing up any his negotiations with Kim Jong-un from going to fire and fury to shaking his hand and stopping military drills.
Yeah, Elliot Abrams.
Yeah, Elliot Abrams was the person I was thinking of. His abysmal view by the Korean people because of like how he butchered that so poorly. I think only 17% of Koreans trust him, compared to Obama, which was like in the 60s or 70s.
Well, yeah, because I mean, he just decided for no reason, having gotten no concessions whatsoever, to just literally walk into North Korea. Like that's a big step, and it might seem small on the face of it, but you're going over to them. You're literally physically making yourself closer to them for nothing, and they've taken that and ridden it for all it's worth. They don't give a damn.
Now,
they've played.
I was reading Kim Jong-un's recent speech, right? Which all normal 19-year-olds do.
Yeah.
And in it, he talks about, now remember, this is a dictatorship, right? This is an evil, disgusting concentration camp operating dictatorship. But he admitted failures in it, which was extremely wild and unexpected because they failed on the economic scale horribly during COVID. They have not been able to cope with COVID at all well. Their leadership actually still doesn't wear masks because they're trying to project power.
Oh, wow.
And in it, they talk about increases in international legitimacy. The one of the few achievements he could actually pound his chest about to his people was the international legitimacy that Donald Trump gave them. Here's another thing that I think is even more severe to me personally, that Trump stopped military drills that is important for South Korea's security to get these negotiations, and then basically offered them a McDonald's on every street corner. Basically offer them economic incentives for all their nukes. There's no way that's going to work. Whatsoever. Number one, you shouldn't give up strategic positioning like military drills to have negotiations. You shouldn't give up anything in the first place. They should be the person. If anyone should be giving anything up to even have negotiations, it should be them. There used to be a discussion of no preconditions, right? And then they got us to do the preconditions. Like the discussion was, should we even do no preconditions? Should we come to the table not requesting anything? And they got shit out of us. It shows how much of a terrible negotiator he is. But he did this kind of 180 towards open negotiation, but then 1 year after all this occurs, they're blowing up the South Korean liaison office on national TV in North Korea. It obviously did not succeed. The only person who really pushed towards success in these negotiations anyway was Moon Jae-in, and in actually trying to build some ties between the country. But Trump was nothing but a detriment to the whole operation.
Well, I think that's true of virtually everything he touched, including look at the rollout of the vaccine and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of North Korea, like you say, the essentially trying to buy off the North Koreans was never going to work. They've put their country through decades of economic torture under the Songun policy of military first, because they want to be military, untouchable, which is what the whole point of getting the nuclear weapons was, so that they can
Yep.
never be invaded, because nuclear nations don't get invaded, obviously. So they're obviously you couldn't just buy them out of that. That's not how that works. And Trump,
Well,
if he had any nous about him, would have known that.
there is a proposal that I believe this one, I forget his name. He was very famous because his kid was in the background during a conversation about North Korea. I don't know if you remember. It was on CNN a while ago. But he basically said that giving up strategic positioning for negotiations with North Korea or to get nukes from North Korea doesn't make sense because these strategic positions could be like lost forever.
Yeah.
And that could permanently reduce America's military capabilities. Liquid assets, though, even though it could increase their position strategically by them putting more money into a program, would not reduce our position. And therefore, while you can't just give them hunks of cash for them to give over all their nukes. Giving them some liquid assets in exchange to start their turnover of some nuclear weapons and going down the road and using that as a jumping off point is one proposal. I don't know if I'm completely bought on it, but it's the only proposal that's been offered to me so far that makes a ton of sense. The other options is targeting their international like black market stuff, which is one way they make money. Of course, trying to pressure the Chinese, but that has always had mixed results, and you'd have to give them something for them to do it. Or North Korea would have to make some massive misstep to really get them to pressure them, since 90% of their trade is with North Korea. So we have ideas for jumping off points, but there's no real like perfect solution to this. It just doesn't exist. No matter what you do, you're gonna have to trade something to get any results on this. There's no way we're just gonna get them to denuclearize and we gave up nothing.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, negotiation works that way. But with Trump, like, he didn't get anything for it. He got empty
No.
words, empty promises. Gave up, like you say, every element of either the moral or actual upper hand. And they carried on doing nuclear tests. Carried on doing missile tests. Were attacking South Korea. All sorts. He's the dumbest person to ever hold that office. I swear to God.
A lot of people, I think, underestimated how little, how small his experience would actually play in him being president, and it ended up playing a gigantic part.
Yeah.
We could see that with his response to the Capitol riots, and for example, a lot of people's like, oh, he doesn't talk presidential. Who cares? Well, then when the Capitol riots happened, what we needed was somebody who did talk presidential, and instead he called them special and said, "This is what happens when you steal the election."
Yeah.
We needed someone to talk presidential. I don't care if it was the most canned message in the world. We needed that because when I was there and I heard somebody say when people started to leave, Trump said to go home. I'm out.
Yeah.
That quick. We needed someone presidential, not to pump the people full of conspiracy theories about the election loss that motivated them to storm the Capitol, plant bombs, beat people to death, beat up the press, threaten people with execution, throw around slurs, charge a Capitol building, and go in there with nooses chanting "Hang Mike Pence" with zip tie cuffs, and it looks like some people in that crowd wanted to kidnap and politician. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad, and I think a certain level of presidentiality, and that doesn't mean being cordial about issues of extreme importance, but being able to deal with crises, being able to respond properly and keep the nation calm is important.
Yeah.
And even on that most basic task of being the figurehead, which is the easiest thing a president has to do, he couldn't do it. So how is he supposed to be part of these negotiations with foreign countries or do well-coordinated multilateral campaigns?
Yeah.
And that's why when America did anything on the international stage, it was always unilateral under Trump and not with our partners.
Well, exactly.
Like pulling out of northeastern Syria.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could tell the fantastic juxtaposition between Trump and Biden was, like you say, on that day, on the 6th. Trump going on about, "I love you, you're special," to people who were literally engaged in insurrection.
When the people with fucking 6 million weren't enough shirts and iron screwdriver hoodies and Camp Auschwitz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Confederate flag.
Yeah, whereas Biden came out and, I mean, it was a lot of it was pablum about this doesn't represent America. I could strongly contest that concept, but even so, that's what you need a president to do. Go out there, say something nice and calming, just get yourself through the situation. At least make people think like there's an adult at the helm.
Yeah, the problem is it didn't seem like there was an adult at the helm. This is something, I mean, from his initial reaction, it sounded like this is something he kind of wanted to happen. If you hear it was like, this is what happens with da 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 da, not an immediate, like, everyone go home.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Not to mention, I mean, this is something that he's been building up for years too. During the presidential primary in the Republican Party, anytime he'd lose a primary, he'd say, well, it was rigged or something happened or they cheated. When he would win the presidential election in 2016, he made the allegation that millions of illegals voted because he was angry he didn't win the popular vote.
Yeah, exactly.
Before this election, he said that if he loses, it was rigged. Democracy doesn't work if one of the major parties cannot accept defeat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, they did the same in Georgia as well. They were stolen.
Yep. They started alleging that in the David Perdue race. Anytime he loses, it wasn't that he lost; it was that it was rigged.
Yeah. Is this the new GOP thing now? Are they just going to say it was rigged every time they lose?
I don't know, because it seems to be somewhat split, because the majority of senators, Republican senators, accepted the results. A large amount of Republican congressmen didn't, though.
Yeah.
They were rejecting it and such. Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham seem to both accept the results and vote for it, though. So the leadership don't seem to be super on board with it, even though they're on board, of course, with voter suppression.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So
yeah.
When it comes to the party, it's hard because Trump right now has a range of 60 to 80% approval rating within the Republican Party, which is actually down from the 95 he had before. Which shows that he still has significant weight within the party. And there's a huge talk amongst basically an inter-party civil war for the future of the party, because for Trump people, like, we need to stand with Trump. He's the person who motivated the base. He is a strong character. He beat Hillary. We need to keep going on this route of Trumpism. It's the way of the working class. And the other side is saying, you guys are extremist radicals who are peddling conspiracy theories, and there's no way we're going to win a general election again with this type of extremist nonsense. The centrists are not going to pull your way. The centrists are going to pull towards the Democrats every time if we sell these types of candidates. And so there might be a split within the Republican Party that can cause a lot of damage. I mean, for instance, when Trump went after Brian Kemp for his handling of the Georgia election, even though there was no problem with this particular instance, his polling went down by like 18 points. 18 points. It was massive.
Yeah.
Now there's people going to primary Brian Kemp because people don't like Brian Kemp because of Trump's comments about him.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think people are all too ready to write off the midterms in 2 years, but I think Trump's going to play both kingmaker and wrecker for the GOP. If he's assuming he's still he's still free and alive, which, I mean, he's an old man, who knows? But he's a lot of the people who are now going to have to try and distance themselves, including like Mike Pence, isn't even going to his send-off thing. Like, even his vice president has basically turned his back on him. He's gonna play a petulant little bitch and be really ruinous in many cases for a lot of GOP politicians.
I think that enters a GOP civil type war, combined with Biden, a lot of Biden's success in his first term, if he can properly respond to COVID, properly get the economy out of the recession, get all this done, I think we could win the midterms. I do. Yeah. Obviously, it's not going to be easy, but I think it is necessary that we run on a working class platform in the Democratic Party and let the Republicans kill each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't even bother with them. Just if you perceive the drowning man, let them drown. That's fine. You don't need to. You don't need to. You don't need to be silly about it. But like you say, now, I mean, those Georgia races are huge. Because now they have some semblance of a chance of getting something done, just by not having the turtle there to just let bills pile up on his desk.
Yeah, the thing that gets me, though, is when Joe Biden says he wants a strong Republican Party, I get that he's saying, for democracy to function, we need a good, principled opposition, and we don't want to go back and forth from chaos to normalcy every 2 years. I understand that. But I really hope that he doesn't want a strong GOP in 2 years, because that would be not good circumstances, in my opinion.
Well, this is why the boomers need to kind of go away now, and I don't mean that in some sort of horrible sense. Just leave the political stage, because their understanding of politics and how it all works now is from a different world. It doesn't represent the reality that now exists.
Ultimately, though, they're not going to leave the political stage, and the reason why is young people aren't turning up at a higher rate, and boomers turn up at an extremely high rate when it comes to elections. Therefore, who's going to be best to speak to boomers? Boomers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a potential political time bomb coming within the Democratic leadership in America, just on the basis that they're all so old, and that can't continue. And I mean, there are new people coming through, but is there a big enough pool of talent there?
Yeah, I think there's we have talent in the Democratic Party and behind the scenes. I think a lot of them are younger talent too. Whether people like it or not, Pete Buttigieg is going to be a major figure in our party going forward. There's no way in hell.
Dick. Oh my god.
To be completely honest, it could be worse.
Well, I mean, it could be worse. It could be literally Adolf Hitler, yes. But I mean, that doesn't mean it's not still shit.
The thing is, the future of our party for going into 2016, we were looking at Steny Hoyers, right? We were looking at Joe Manchins. We were looking at those types. Pete Buttigieg is still more to the left than I was actually expecting to get out of a lot of leadership. It's still not where I would want it to be, but it's much better than I thought it was going to get, to be completely honest.
Well, maybe so. I mean, I have to say, from the early moves that are being made by the Biden administration, even if there are the odd nearer tandons thrown into the mix, generally speaking, it's been pretty good. I think the XL pipeline thing, the minimum wage stuff, it's actually looking pretty good.
And you got to remember, Pete is more progressive than Biden. He is. He's more to the left than Biden is.
Well, historically speaking, yes. But I mean, we'll wait and see how things go. Yeah.
I mean, maybe he'll get more conservative as time goes on, but so far I like a lot of what Biden's doing. Obviously, a lot of it I want to be going further. I want the future of the party to be more like Barbara Lee. I want it to be more like Ro Khanna, right?
Yeah.
The question is, can these people sell themselves and get elected to a wider audience outside of deeply blue districts? I've seen people like Lee Carter get success, but are those things define the rule, or could that be the rule? It all depends.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, I think so, and I think undoubtedly, I think we'll look back at this period, and one of the kind of subplots within it is the fact that the Bernie Sanders, I think, can and should be remembered as one of the genuine progressive forces in modern American history, because the idea of the $15 minimum wage wasn't really on the table for a large part in the Democratic Party. A lot of the things
public option wasn't even on the table for a lot of people.
Yeah, the Green New Deal's been taken seriously now in a way that it just wouldn't have been. He has moved the Overton window significantly.
Shutting down the XL pipeline was something that he was in favor of that I don't know would have. I mean, definitely under Obama admin it wouldn't have happened.
And in terms of
there was
the foreign policy,
his leadership on Yemen specifically.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, in terms of foreign policy, the idea of shutting down the kind of war hawk side of American politics, which I mean, thankfully, both the GOP to a certain extent and the Democratic Party seem to have for now. Now, at the merest stretch, who knows if he starts drone striking everywhere again? But I mean, I think Sanders has had his impact. I would have loved him to become president, but regardless of that, he's had a massive impact, and as the chair of the budget committee, could still yet have a bigger impact.
Yeah, I think him being chairman of the Senate Budget Committee is a huge thing. Him being in charge of reconciliation is going to be really big. Definitely considering we might only have 2 years. Hopefully we don't.
Yeah.
Definitely when it comes to getting a lot of the stuff we want to get through, like the $2,000 stuff when it comes to the checks and everything. When it comes to $15 minimum wage, when it comes to all this stuff and stuff.
Well, it's been so odd to see the debate being so focused on the immediate check thing rather than some of the other stuff. Like, I get that people need money right in this very second, and I think $2,000 isn't even enough. But some of the other stuff around the minimum wage and getting rid of like the tipped minimum wage and the disabled lower minimum wage, I think it's
See,
enormous progressive change.
I think it is. I just think a lot of people, for them, they're starving right now.
Yeah.
They can't pay
No,
their
absolutely,
utility
yeah.
bills right now. And so when Biden's proposal is a child tax credit, which is actually a good thing when you look at the economics of it, it's just people like, okay, yeah, but I'm about to lose my house now. Please, thank you. Do a rent, kick the rent can down the road, please, and please give me money. I'm going to die. So if you're in that situation, hearing that at the end of the year you might get a tax credit is maybe not, or $50 minimum wage might be on the table when you don't even have a job, is probably not like the biggest motivator for you personally. Even though these are good policies, $50 minimum wage, good. Rent moratorium, good. We need the a lot of these things are needed, and I just think a lot of tax credits, they were good. Investment in public transportation, good. All the money being given to local governments, great and amazing for recovering from a recession, because $1 into local governments means about $1.7 in GDP growth. They know how to allocate those funds better. And definitely when a lot of these areas have like huge deficits, a lot of these states have huge deficits and they need to balance the budget. I don't think it's been decided if they can use the funds to do it, but his 1.9 trillion is more than I thought I was going to get. I don't know if all of it will pass, but it's certainly something that gives it. I've gotten a little bit of hopium recently, and I don't know if it's undeserved hopium, but I'm happy that I got some hopium.
Yeah, it's something. It's I'll be honest. Just on the basis that he isn't Donald Trump, I thought, well, that's enough for me. That's like I'll support that dude. That's fine. And I voted for him.
Yeah.
I voted for him illegally in all 50 states many times. You can tell Sidney Powell about that. But actually, yeah, he's been far more progressive than I thought he was going to be so far.
And I think that's due to a general conversation in the party of going to the left and figuring out, wait a second, the vast majority of Americans like a $15 minimum wage. The vast majority of Americans want these checks. The vast majority of Americans support these policies. The question is, how do we message it to them, and how do we get this through legislatively, and how to finance it all, right? Because of course you still need to figure out in a way how to pay for it. As much as deficit spending is, if you have a negative interest rate and you know how 1.7 GDP growth can be invested on the local level, and you know how you could expand in Keynesian style economics, but you still need to pay for it to a certain extent. So it's I think them taking this route, or Biden taking the route he's currently going on, I want him to go further. I always want him to go further. But I'm kind of shocked Pikachu face right now. I'm like a little like, oh, I didn't expect this,
Oh, that's nice. You made that cute as well. Oh. Yes. So so you're going to Washington tomorrow.
Yep, going to DC.
What are you expecting from tomorrow? And I know it's sort of difficult to predict, but do you get the feeling the security's there?
There's more troops in DC than there are in Iraq and Afghanistan combined.
Wow.
There's 25,000 National Guard, the Maryland National Guard, the DC Capitol Police, then the DC Police, and of course there's also private security services I've been told are going to be there as well, and there's other National Guard troops, and so basically there's a lot of people there, and and there's a Secret Service as well. So I think, sorry, I had to sneeze. I think the president's going to be safe. President-elect, soon to be president, is going to be safe. I think him and the vice president are going to be safe. The question is, do I think that it could get violent outside the barricades? Possibly. I think possibly. There is the threat, and this is the thing that scares me the most, is because I won't be behind the barricades. I'll be outside the thing, watching it happen, documenting all the National Guards and everything else. I'm scared that people who wanted to do the attacks but can't are going to attack vulnerable points like BLM Plaza outside of the barricades.
Yeah.
Possibly metros. The metro system, all of it isn't shut down. Of course, some stations are shut down that are like under the blockade, but of course, you could stop a train with a bomb. I do have some fears, but I think the president and the president-elect will be safe. But I do have some fears. I do have fears. My main fear is not of getting beat up. I've gone to these things twice. I can take a punch. It's whatever. My main fear is of legitimate terror attacks.
Yeah. Well, there were 2 pipe bombs, obviously, on the 6th.
Yeah.
There's There are elements within them, and again, as with all of these things, it's probably a very small number, but you only need a small number.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't think, if you would have asked me, I don't think anything is going to happen like that. I
Hmm.
think most likely it's not. The president hasn't been telling people to go. The president himself is not going. Um, a lot of organizations are sitting this one out.
Yeah,
Obviously, with you not even being able to attend the inauguration, that's also going to play it down. Then there's also COVID concern. There's a lot of things that are going to push towards not a lot of people going there. My dream scenario is I go there. There's basically no one there. I just take some pictures of some cops and I leave.
yeah,
That's my dream scenario.
that would
Is
be
that
awesome.
probably going to happen? There's probably going to be some Trump people there. There's
Yeah.
probably going to be a little bit of stuff happening. Hopefully, no scuffling though. I think
Yeah.
with how much law enforcement is going to be there, I think they're going to quickly be able to stop anything that happens.
Although, the National Mall, I don't know if you've seen, obviously they're not allowing people in there because COVID and terrorism and all the rest of it. So they've just lined it with like 1 million American flags, which
Yeah.
is the most American thing I've ever seen. Just a million
mean-
American. You couldn't have too many American flags, it would appear.
Have you ever seen my stream?
Well, you've got. I mean, it's okay having the occasional American flag. That's fine, but it's
Okay. If you look at my stream, there's one American flag in that corner of the room,
yeah.
right? Now, if you go over here, there's another American flag right there, right?
Oh wow. Okay.
So I have two American flags, and on the other side of the room, there's my Maryland state flag behind a painting. So I have a lot of American flags. Oh, and we also put American flag on the front porch.
That's a lot of American flags.
Yeah, we like our flag.
It's
over
no,
here.
absolutely, yeah. No, that's fine. But it's just like usually you see an American politician speaking and they've got like 8 flags behind them, which seems like overkill. But this time
Well,
they've gone fucking
Well,
a
are you
million.
confused about which country they're in?
Well, just in case, yeah. Like, I mean, you've got to make sure you know where you are, yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
so there you go.
the American flag thing was one of the most distasteful elements of the entire Trump administration. The fact they would hug the flag.
He would hug the flag, or
Yeah.
the thing that really pissed me off is I don't like talking about my faith a lot, but his Lafayette Square beating up the press so he could pose with a Bible in front of a church.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing that was probably one of the most distasteful.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not-
of course, here's another thing: the Muslim ban of that was the fact that he was a candidate and he said, "I want to ban Muslims." Just literally said he didn't say, "I want to ban." He said, "I want to ban Muslims from entering this country," and he won.
Yeah.
That enough should be an indictment of where we are as a country.
Yeah, and then set up a commission called the Freedom of Religion Commission or something to try and protect religion in America. Motherfucker, how hypocritical do you want to be exactly?
Oh my gosh, do you know Glenn Beck, right?
Unfortunately, so yes.
He recently compared Trump being banned off of Twitter to the Holocaust.
Oh, for
And-
fuck's sake.
He said it's like a digital gulag, is what he called it. And my thing is, he said that at the same point of time that Trump was repealing non-discrimination protections during the end of his administration for gay, trans, LGBT people, right?
Yeah.
So he's saying that this is like the Holocaust, while Trump is actively going after communities who were killed during the Holocaust.
Yeah.
I just find that quite, well, ironic.
Well, indeed, yeah. And actually, on the point of I mean, I can't really be bothered to look at the 1776 thing with you. I'll probably do that on stream another day now. But the comparison between how his term started and ended actually mentions the Holocaust. I remember it distinctly. One of the first things he did was it was Holocaust Memorial Day, and he put out what's a Holocaust Memorial thing from the president back in 2017. He'd literally been in office like a few days, and it didn't
Well,
mention.
was he like talking about the Holocaust? He's like, remember the brave troops who served during the Holocaust, and then he shows the wrong soldier.
No, he put out a statement where he didn't mention the Jewish people at all in the thing at all, which is called dejudification, which is like one of the main kind of key entry points for Holocaust denial, for instance. And that was like one of the first things he did, and one of the last things he's done is this 1776 commission thing, when specifically on MLK Day he puts out a thing which like downplays slavery and refers to the KKK as a vigilante group.
They called it a vigilante group.
Yeah.
It's not fucking Batman.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's
It's a
ridiculous.
weird
Yeah.
way to.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of the most disgustingly racist documents, and I mean, it's so on brand for Trump because it's a, it denies reality, and b, it's like a firm commitment to racism. It's a mad,
I
mad thing.
yeah, the thing that gets me about Trump and like, well, can he really be a racist? Is we can look at the I forget the five, but the him calling for the death penalty for the five people who were innocent of rape and
Oh,
murder.
the
That
the Central Park Five.
the Central Park Five, him calling. The thing is, I think the him calling for a ban on Muslims is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah,
He said it a direct a ban on Muslims until we can figure out what the hell is going. I mean, that's pretty direct about his intentions. We can look at his history of like calling like shithole countries, which you can say, oh, but people will respond to that like, what if it's true? Dude, if I said if your city had a problem, like let's say your city had a problem with litter, I said, man, your city's a shithole. But then I said the other communities, full of the other ethnicities, we needed more people from those communities, like Sweden or Norway was the proposed ones,
yeah.
which also have their own problems. I think you can kind of get the intention of what he's getting at there.
Yeah.
Not
Well-
not to mention telling the Proud Boys to stand back, stand by. His lawyer quoting Nick Fuentes in recent evidence and recent like speeches.
Although
And
amusingly, he called him Nick Funes, which is funny.
Nick Funes. Nick Funes.
Oh no! Someone points out, yeah, that he didn't just go after foreign countries as shitholes. He was having a go at Baltimore, not too far from yourself.
Yeah, not too far from me at all. A lot of my friends are from Baltimore. I love Baltimore.
Yeah,
It's the Emerald of Maryland. We refer to it as, and
yeah,
said it was like rat infested or whatever.
yeah, exactly, and not just that, but in service of
like
trying
his old
to
like his old buildings, which he used to rent out.
indeed, and he was only doing that in service of attacking the now late John Lewis as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. Somebody's asking me, why am I going to DC tomorrow? Inauguration is closed to the public. I'm not going to the inauguration, as in the inauguration. I'm going to be going to the areas that are not restricted to the public. I think BLM Plaza is not going to be completely cut off, so I'm going to hang out there. There's most likely going to be some gathering. Anytime something happens like this, there's some people hanging out at BLM Plaza. Usually people that are more friendly towards the left because, with the name and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dylan's not going to the inauguration, and Biden will be very, very upset that you've rebuffed his advances on that. He invited you. I mean, unnecessary.
I mean, I would have been his foreign policy advisor, but and maybe Secretary of Defense or anything you really wanted for any of these roles. But I'm sure Tony Blinken will get the job done. I mean, he'll settle for Tony, right?
Well, I reckon he could probably get hold of your phone number if he needed it. Just if he needs to ring you up, he's got some ideas. Like, I've got some ideas I need to bounce off you, Dylan.
I mean, he
Can we chat?
keeps inviting me to the Twitter DM groups, but like, eventually I had to block his number.
Yeah. Twitter DM groups. I genuinely, I can't wait to find out all the nonsense that Trump's been getting up to, because the stuff he's done in public has been like funny enough. I bet he's been doing dumb shit on like Twitter DMs or something. I bet we'll find out he was like formulating policy on Parler or something.
If you could, let's say you're a Twitter employee. Let's say you make $100,000 a year on Twitter, right? You're a big Twitter dude, right?
Mm.
Would you give that job up in order to see what Donald Trump has DM'd people?
Oh shit!
Like by just like going into his account quick and checking it, even if you'd get fired if they found out. Would you risk it?
Well, I don't think I would, because not only have you got that, but you got the potential for like espionage charges and stuff.
Oh, that is true.
Because he's the president. You can't. I mean, because you've got the woman.
Damn.
You've got the woman who tried to sell Pelosi's laptop. She's never seen freedom again. She's going to go to prison forever. And they were talking even about was it Elijah Schaefer, the Daily Caller guy, might face charges on some sort of minor espionage charges, if such a thing exists, because he was taking pictures of the computer screen with the emails.
God.
Yeah, because
you know what's happening right now at Comet Ping Pong?
Is Comet Ping Pong even still a thing? Didn't they close down?
No. I'm looking at it right now. There's people outside of it with like repent or perish, hell awaits you. And there's people outside protesting it.
It's a pizza joint, you fucking losers.
I thought conservatives love small businesses.
Well, Clearly, well, not small businesses that run non-existent pedophile rings. Clearly.
Did you son of a bitch, Kevin?
Well,
You said pizza joint, not one pizza.
to be fair, you're the one that's showing a pizza joint on screen.
Yeah, but you didn't need to say pizza joint. You could have said Comet Ping Pong.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, maybe smoke some weed instead. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
You're encouraging people under the age of 21 to engage in marijuana?
And heroin, yes. Yes,
Okay,
all of the drugs. All of the drugs. TOS. I'm going to get someone else's channel taken down.
let's not do that one.
Yeah, no, I'm only joking. Yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, that's. I mean, at least they look peaceful, if nothing else, which is a step forward.
Yeah, they're just harassing people. That's all, really.
Yeah, that's. Oh, Jesus Christ. But like I say, after the last week, because I mean, on the 6th, I was doing my regular show, and the thing kicked off, and it's difficult. Like, I have a newfound respect for like people who do live TV news, because you have to react on the spot, and I didn't know what to say.
Actually, I'm checking out the flags at the mall. I actually think this is quite pretty. If you look, they actually have a flags for every state, so everybody who couldn't attend, it can have their state represented at the inauguration.
Oh, what flag is that? That looks like some Chinese flag or something.
I thought it was the Benton flag, but I think that's Arizona.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
And in front of that is, I think, New Mexico, which is the yellow flag. And behind that, I think that's Iowa. Wow, I can't believe I got all three of those. Dope.
Yeah. I couldn't name a single one. Well, actually, other than Maryland, ironically, just because it's quite distinctive.
It's very pretty.
Yeah.
It's the
I don't
best
know.
flag.
I wouldn't say that it is that pretty. I think that it's colour jarring,
Get the fuck out of here.
but it's.
How dare you?
Look, hey, it's not as nice as the. I mean, I like the Stars and Stripes. I think it's a nice flag. For
Yeah,
what it's worth.
Hey, I mean, if we gotta put it everywhere, it's gotta look good, right?
Exactly. And you've got a nice national anthem. That's the thing you don't expect in Britain. The national anthem is the most tedious song in the history of the
Is
world.
it God Save the Queen?
It is. It's awful. I mean, not only
A national anthem for one person is kind of weird.
yeah, it's dumb and it's boring, especially because there's
Sorry, the British fans.
no, that's fine. You're correct. Anyway, so what are you expecting / what are you hoping for out of the Biden presidency outside of foreign matters, which we've talked about?
Well, I guess my main thing, honestly, if he just ends our support for the war in Yemen, he's already done much better than Trump. There's not much worse he could do. I want him to rejoin the GCPOA, continue freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea, continue to support Taiwan, and maybe do a free trade deal with Taiwan to support them economically. I would say rededicate our support for the SDF in Syria. I would say another thing. There's some things I'm thinking about. I would want him to do, but he's not gonna do. So I think those are some of the major ones. What's another one I would want him to do? I guess continuing negotiations in Afghanistan with pursuant of human rights and democracy preservation being a goal, not just can we do this by this day? If we don't do it by this day, we give up and leave, which seemed to be the Trump plan. The plan was basically to just leave in 2021 if we couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
Which, if you tell everybody we're gonna leave by this day, then they'll just wait for you to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta secure it.
Yeah.
I guess there's some other foreign policy stuff I could think of, but those are some ones off right off the bat.
Yeah. Do we know? Has he revealed anything about the pardons yet? Has that list actually come out? Because they were saying 6 hours ago, any minute now.
Ooh, I should look because some people were saying the Tiger King might get pardoned. Trump.
Yeah, no, I saw that earlier. Apparently, he hired a massive, 22-foot long limo thing, to pick him up at the.
Trump commutes sentence of Snoop Dogg pal, death row co-founder, Michael Harry O'Harris. I can't see any. I don't see. Wait. Let me look up Tiger King. Tiger King. Maybe. Wait. Okay. Tiger King star Joe Exotic books limousine ahead of expected pardon from Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Joseph, aka Joe Exotic, is expecting a presidential pardon from Donald Trump. Exotic was made famous last year by the Tiger King Ministries on Netflix. He is legal to go. Also said Exotic, if pardon, would probably get dressed and styled after speaking publicly.
There's
And they really gotta
there's no way they're not already filming all of this. This is going to be the first episode of the next series. Definitely.
Most certainly.
Yeah.
Did he get?
I don't know, man. I mean, that's an expensive limousine by the looks of it. If he's just going to end up in prison still.
Will he be pardoned?
I don't know. Well, I know that there's been a lot of talk, and it makes a lot of sense. I think that Trump's a big enough selfish idiot that because he's been talked out of like giving pardons to his family and himself because of the implications of guilt that comes along with it, that he basically might not do it for anyone. He might just go off in a huff and not.
Well, I know he has pardoned some people though. So I'm just trying to figure out who did he pardon. Because I want to know if Tiger King bought a limo for no fucking reason.
That would be funny. Trump's final.
May-
Oh, they got final list of pardons.
Let's see.
Okay.
Well, never mind. I'm not paying for that, but we'll figure it out eventually. It'll be reported somewhere.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Hey,
Indeed.
out of 47 minutes ago, Joe Exotic's legal team said he's confident he'll receive a presidential pardon. So
I
there
wonder
you go.
how that
There's
works. I mean, because
to be fair,
how would he be confident? Has he been contacted by somebody?
I would assume, right?
Yeah.
But they haven't maybe revealed it. The thing is, if I was Donald Trump, I'd pardon Joe Exotic. Because if I'm that much of a scumbag and everybody already hates me, if I pardon Joe Exotic, he seems like a cool person to chill with, even if he's not a great human being.
Yeah,
It'd be fun at the very
well,
least.
he's pardoned worse. I mean, he's pardoned literal war criminals. Like
I
one
think-
attempted murder or one conspiracy to murder is nothing really.
Not to mention, like Tiger King's also a political icon. Have you seen his like campaigns or his music or any of that?
No, I don't partake in the white trash. No.
You don't partake in the white trash. Wow, that's some liberal elitism right there.
Correct. Yes, correct. No, I'm only joking.
Wow.
No, I've only really seen the TV program, and not much
Here's
of
a
that, to be honest.
report from CNN that Trump is actually worried about the pardons, about not pardoning himself, possibly.
Well, exactly, because that's his natural defence. But the thing is, in order to pardon yourself, it's untested, I believe, in terms of whether that would actually hold up in court, and B, the implication of guilt is pretty obvious. Like,
Wait,
he
are you
knows-
suggesting that he might be guilty?
I think there's a chance he might not be entirely on the level.
Man,
I know it's wrong to impugn a sitting president, albeit that he's not sitting for very much longer, but still.
I mean, the thing is, for me, it's like, what are we gonna? There's the emoluments clause from the Saudi Arabian government funneling money into his hotels. There, of course, is the whole Russia nonsense. There's this recent incitement. There's
Oh yeah, did you see that Mitch McConnell had stood up in the Senate and I forget the exact words he used, but it said that Trump had instigated it. The events on the 6th.
Holy shit! This was released an hour ago. Trump has talked to people in recent days about forming a new political party. He wants to call it the Patriot Party.
Awesome, good.
Is he going to be like a? The thing is, though, this isn't like England or Scotland or fucking Wales, where you can just make a party and you get 2 or 3 seats. If there are 2 parties on the right wing that are substantially large, the right wing loses the election.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, in Britain,
So
I'd
if
be
he-
slightly worried, but that's fantastic. If they can take
The
10% off
problem
the
is,
GOP,
though,
brilliant.
What if he has the civil war with the Republican Party and wins?
I don't know that Trump has got either the longevity or the campaigning or the campaigning infrastructure to win that long term. Because once he
I
died,
didn't think he had that to win the presidential election.
true, but that was to a degree that was a statistical fluke, really. If you look at how the votes broke down in those states.
A statistical fluke.
Yeah, I mean, he won several states by a few tens of thousands of votes. Like the fact that you would lose by the popular vote that much and still win the electoral college is almost impossible to think, but it did happen. But
I do think if he does this, it'll be a failing endeavor. I do
well, that's
generally believe that. I don't think he
Yeah.
has the money, infrastructure. I don't think he has any of it.
No, he doesn't.
But
And not just that,
but
but
I think it would be strategically good for us. It'd be one way we could win 2022.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like I say, if they could just take 10% of the vote off the GOP, that's enough. In a lot of places, it's certainly enough to hold sway in both houses. What was I going to say? Yeah, and in terms of Trump's brand, the whole point of this new political party dies with Trump, because Trump's the only thing keeping Trumpism together. There's no, I don't see that Don Jr. or Steve Bannon or anyone's going to take that mantle on.
I do want to say that I think calling it a statistical fluke is inaccurate, though, because a statistical fluke would be winning maybe one state, right? He won multiple states, and he kept winning states, and his polling was above everyone else in the Republican primary, and he beat a competitive field to win this. And now he had immense support among the Republican base.
Oh no,
and still, even after inciting a riot, still has majority support of the Republican Party.
Oh, well, I mean, I was talking specifically about the general election in 2016 rather than the primaries against the GOP or anything like that. And yeah, and I mean, look, Trump has been a very effective demagogue in terms of getting a lot of support in the GOP without alienating the more fringe GOP vote or the more centrist, less Trumpian GOP voters. I mean, he got 74 million people to vote for him. That's fucking terrifying. So I'm not suggesting he doesn't have a base and that he can't be successful. I'm just saying in terms of him having some sort of long-term success, I don't think looking at 2016, not only is it obviously one data point, but also I think it's a rather askew data point. I think we'll look back in history at that as quite a freak outcome.
The thing that gets me is I just don't think there would be people who follow him enough. I mean, maybe like a Josh Hawley, but then again, Josh Hawley has a lot of interests within the Republican Party as well. He'd have to he'd have to get a mass exodus.
Yeah.
I think definitely after what happened in the Capitol, I think less Republicans are going to be confident enough to follow him off.
Well, You've already seen, his support go down from 90+% to sort of 80%. I saw the other day,
60 to 80.
Yeah,
it's in that range.
Which, yeah, I mean that's pretty big drop off in a couple of weeks, really.
That is a big drop off, but it is enough to do a lot of damage.
Indeed, yeah, absolutely, and he's undoubtedly hemorrhaging some of his core support as well because he's thrown them under the bus. These people went into there, 4 of them died, and he was out on TV within hours calling them violent criminals. Which, I mean, I agree, they are violent criminals, but when they've done that for you and you've thrown them under the bus that quick, just in the blink of an eye, he'll throw you under the bus. And I think people are starting to realise that.
I remember this logo. This would be the logo for the Patriot Party. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's fine. Look, it's very America. Stars and stripes and things, yeah.
But is that what the lion isn't even an American animal? It's African.
Well, yeah, well, with the lions associated with Britain as well, and there are no lions here either. So
because stealing other people's shit again.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh yeah, to the person in the chat, I'm Kevin Logan, by the way. That's who Dylan is talking to. You can follow me on the Twitch and
this is
the
Hasanabi.
YouTube.
Twitch.tv/Hasanabi.
Yeah, I've got a bit whiter. And a bit less attractive. Let's be honest. Let's not beat around that bush.
I like to basically call every single guest I have Hasanabi.
I mean, I'll take it. I've had worse comparisons. I was compared. Oh my god! I was compared the other day. Do you know the one of the rioters that was the son of a New York federal judge or whatever?
Yeah, I know the guy with the Buffalo man.
Yeah. Someone said I look like him, and I've never felt uglier.
I don't think you look like, and that guy's not necessarily unattractive.
Yeah, no, he is. He's incredibly unattractive. Yes.
Let me look at him. Anyway. Buffalo guy, DC riot. Images.
Let's have a look.
He's not super unattractive.
Oh no, not main Buffalo guy. There's like a weird guy with a kind of
like he looks like he's from Caesar's Legion, but besides that, like, looks fine.
No, not him. No. I wouldn't mind being compared to him necessarily. It was He's like the son of a New
And
York.
this is the type of guy you want to be like? Okay, good to know. So,
Well, I mean, look, he's got a nice body. He's a fascist idiot, but in terms of looks, it could be worse.
yeah.
No, I don't know. Anyway, he's the Buffalo guy. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna go now. I think because
You gonna head out?
it's 2:45 in the morning, and I want to go to sleep.
No worries, man.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
cool.
I didn't know it was too late for you.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm a night owl anyway, so it's fine. Yeah, give yourself a shout out on my tiny stream.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dylan Burns. You can find me at Dylan Burns TV on YouTube if you're on the YouTubes right now. You can find me at Dylan Burns TV on Twitch, and my Twitter is DYLANBURNS1776. I'm a true American patriot, Dylan Burns 1776. So you guys all have a blessed day and stay safe tomorrow. It's gonna be crazy.
That's professional right there, everyone. Okay. Yeah. I'll peace out.
Peace out, man. You have a nice day.
Bye bye.
That was a hell of a sneeze. Oh my gosh.